it kind of reminds me of an experience. I mean, many experiences, but um, man, what to choose from? I think I'll choose. I think I'll choose this one. So, I am also a lawyer. I did go to law school and graduate from Fordham University School of Law in New York City, and I was part of the criminal defense clinic at Fordham. And one of my experiences that I had with one of the racialized white women who were running the clinical program is when I applied to do the program for a second semester, which was extremely rare, but two other students were doing it as well. I was told that I needed to be more submissive to her. Yeah, I saw your eyebrow there. Submissive was the word she used to my face. Yeah, so I actually ended up speaking to the head of all clinical programs. Obviously, we had a rocky relationship. And she also had a phone call with me. Sorry, let me back up a little bit. She also had a phone call with me where she criticized everything I did in the clinical program, including the clothes that I wore to the clinic. And so in a conversation with the head of all clinical programs about this thing that was happening, he revealed to me that he believed it was racism that I was experiencing. He's the one who brought it up, not me. So I don't think I was the first person that something like this was happening to. Her colleague, I had a meeting with her. She was playing hardcore defense for her colleague until I told her about the criticizing my clothes that I wore to the clinic. You could see when I brought that up, her face changed. Just like you saw the woman's embarrassment in the grocery store, what I saw was that she was like, "Oh, that's racist." Like she was just like, she was like, "Oh crap." I can't play defense for that one.
Yeah, I can't defend that one.
Yeah. And immediately her tactics switched. It was so transparent. Obviously, she's not sitting in my chair, so she can't see how transparent it is from my end. She's just, trying to help her friend. But ultimately, she immediately said, "Oh, well, that's all water under the bridge, right?" Before that, she was attacking me, basically, trying to tell me that it was all my fault that all these things were happening, basically. That was the implication of everything she was saying until that moment. So ultimately, these two women are the ones who knew the most about my acumen for being a criminal defense attorney, which was my goal. Now, I can't prove it, but I did go through a 9-month interview process with legal aid in which I interviewed with 4 different attorneys. One of them was someone who's been doing the interview for, he claimed, 26 years, and he had never heard anyone. I had to give a closing argument in front of a group for one of them. And he said he never heard anyone give the closing in that way. He's been giving the problem for all these years. And he asked me all these questions. How did you come up with this? What is that? Blah, blah, blah. We had a great conversation. I interviewed with other attorneys. Everything went well. Got to the final round. Was told by multiple people that if you get to this round of interviewing with legal aid, that you have the job. You did it. And I walk into the attorney in charge's office, and 5 minutes into the interview, she tells me I'm unprepared for the interview, which was a huge red flag for me. Like literally a scenario that I hadn't imagined, which rarely occurs ever. And so I was kind of like, well, I know that's not true. So I'm going to have to figure out what's going on here. This another experience that I had where I can talk about the facial change as well. Since you mentioned it, I think it's kind of what I was trying to highlight is that the fact that you saw her face is meaningful. Like I saw this woman's face as well as she first told me matter-of-factly that I was unprepared for the interview. And then when I forced her to justify why she said that, she said, "Well, you couldn't answer my questions." That wasn't true. I said I did answer every question you asked. And she thought about it and she realized that was true. And then she was like, "Well, let me ask you again." And she starts asking me the same exact questions that she asked for the last 5 minutes. And I'm giving her the same exact answers. And I'm seeing on her face recognition that I'm actually giving her the right answers, that I actually do know what I'm talking about. And I'm seeing her realize that for the first time, even though we're having the exact same conversation. Then she apologizes to me for telling me that I was unprepared for the interview. Then she offers to give a call and try to make me a paralegal in a final interview for an attorney job with legal aid. She saw my face after offering me that and realized, like, we're seeing each other's faces, right? Like, it's a conversation, it's communication. So she saw my disgust at her saying that after everything that just happened. And she was like, oh crap, I screwed up again. Same look. She apologized a second time for doing that. Then she asked if I had passed the bar. At that time I had not. She said I would need to get a judicial order in order to be hired by legal aid. Pulling out every card she could possibly find to make sure that I would not be hired for this position. Upon reflection of walking out of that building without the job that I thought walking in was a sure thing, given everything everyone said, given everything I knew, everyone knew. I talked to many lawyers after that who were like, I don't know what happened there, and that's crazy. And none of that is true, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, I think that ultimately, right, my experiences in the clinic, right, had they been different, I think would likely have led to a different outcome in that scenario. I'm quite certain that the people who work at legal aid are familiar with these professors, they've sent many students to legal aid for a job. One person, I even found out that they actually, kind of like smooth the road for them. So, these are people, high-level attorneys. One of them was representing people in Guantanamo Bay. These are high-level attorneys doing high-level work. And ultimately, the head of all clinical programs, he was outraged at what I experienced. He was like literally yelling, slamming his fist on the desk. It was quite the performance by this racialized white man at the injustice that I was experiencing. But when it came to decide what to do about it, there was no answer. There was no answers. All they did was they isolated me from the woman who said that. So they isolated me from her, made me continue working in the program, and then 9 months later, that experience occurred. To me, I can draw a direct line from the experiences in the clinic to what occurred in that interview, not only because of that one scenario, but because like a lot of other things happened that were similar in nature. So I can see a lot of patterns in terms of what occurred. Also, using the power of deduction that you used, to kind of determine that race was at play, I could also use that in this instance as well, among other things. Like I said, I have myriad ways. But that's just an example of, it cost me a career that I was aiming for 4 years. And that wasn't the first time it cost me my time and money. That one was extremely costly for me. So it did actually change the direction of my entire life. I had to make a significant life change after that I would not have made otherwise. So it actually removed agency, my professional agency. And it's also not the first time that has happened. So there are many different manifestations of how racism can have consequences on you that aren't direct, that have nothing to do with or little to do with your individual experiences. Like what that woman telling me I needed to be subservient to her, I didn't care about that. Her criticizing my clothes, I don't care, right? Of course I don't care. Who cares? But I do care about not being able to pursue the career that I wanted after, spending 9 months prepping for that. And for all intents and purposes of everyone who said that I would have made a great criminal defense attorney. So yeah, that's just one example of the difficulty and the fraughtness of the consequences of when, racism finds you. You're too uppity. You're too much of an uppity black person who's not subservient enough. You're not wearing the right clothes. So you're in the wrong class. Whatever it is. So, yeah, your reflections.
Uh, yeah, I mean, when it comes to people's experiences, of course, I have to take it at face value because, for instance, like I don't know the the steps to become a lawyer and everything. I've never been through that process. I haven't read up on that process and all that other stuff. So I would never like deny your experiences when it comes to that, um, or anyone else's.